This is Logic versus Emotion podcast, where we seek meaning and connection in relationships, unpacking common relationship issues like communication, forgiveness, personality traits, love languages, and much more, all to help you live your best.
Where is the love?
You were on, Cam.
My bad.
So, thank you, everybody. Welcome back to Logic versus Emotions. I'm your host, Aquanette, and joining me this evening is my sister. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Camilla Kesey.
Okay, I didn't know if you would feel comfortable giving your full name.
Yes.
Okay, so you know what this is about. Logic versus Emotions is a podcast dedicated to individuals that have experienced childhood trauma and then how we can navigate that trauma while we're in adulthood to live thriving lives. I brought you on because we experienced some of the same trauma. I'm not sure if you remember all of it, but I wanted to get your take on the trauma that you experienced or recall, and then how that may have impacted you in adulthood, specifically your relationships with other people, and more specifically with the black man.
The black man. Okay. Well, I've always said this, but I probably never said it to you. But I've always told other people that you obviously saw and went through stuff that we didn't, or I didn't see, because I knew that you took stuff different than I did.
True.
Because and now even hearing you talk about now with certain stuff, like the one thing about the gun today, I didn't hear about that until I moved to Florida, and Aunt Gloria told me that story, so I never knew it. So I didn't feel anything from that because I didn't actually remember anything from that.
Right, you were an infant.
And as far as mommy, daddy, those times when we were there, in all honesty, again, I probably never said that to you, but I've always told people that you were the one who was taking care of us. So I really didn't look at it like, I didn't look at it like we was missing out on too much. I was having a ball. So that's what I'm like. I know stuff that, like when we got took, like that was confusing to me. I was like, what's going on? Like that didn't make sense to me at all. I didn't understand the problem. And then we were just gone. So during the while we were all together, I never saw a problem.
So, okay. Well, I can bring up a problem that you might remember. You used to call me mommy.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I just again, I didn't say that to you, but all my life I always told people, I was like, well, Greta basically took care of us like she was our mother. I don't know that I called you that. I don't remember that, but I do remember that I always told people that you basically was doing everything our mother was doing or would have been doing, which is why I probably didn't see the neglect part. I remember you was getting us up. I remember you was always there. Mommy was there, but I remember mommy was leaving. I remember mommy was leaving and not there, like, at times when I guess she was supposed to be. Like, see, that's what I'm like, I guess at times she was supposed to be. It didn't really mean anything to us because we were still eating because you was cooking. I remember that. I remember us being in the kitchen, and I remember standing up on the stuff to clean up stuff. I remember you had us cleaning up stuff. I remember you getting up cooking and stuff. That's the way I remember May Street.
Yeah.
I swear, did Eric have a collection of maggots?
Eric had a collection of, he collected bottles, so you could turn bottles in for money.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I was laughing because he was such a unique, each one of us was very special to me, in my opinion. And one conversation I had with mommy later in life when we connected was that she missed out because we were some good and beautiful children. And that's a shame. But yeah, Eric was unique. And so he had frogs. I remember him trying to trap a bird and ended up catching a rat.
Yeah, he would, whatever I remember that. That was like the weird thing.
I'm gonna have a pet by any means necessary.
But even now as an adult, I just look at it like, well, I had a brother. he was a boy. Like, that's what they do.
Yeah.
So I don't pay no attention. But like now that I'm older, I look back at stuff and I'm like, what? We shouldn't have been. I remember the shoes, and that was in New Jersey, trying to go to the bathroom at night. Y'all made me put on my shoes and we had to walk on the floor real hard.
That was so the rat wouldn't go. So you could scare the rat before you went anywhere.
First of all, I don't remember any rats. I just remember y'all making me do that, which I'm assuming maybe that's why I never saw no rats, because I remember y'all making me do that.
And that was my solution to the problem, with my young mind. And I myself was, 6 years old. So, if you make noise, the rats are scattered.
Some stuff I remember, but it wasn't nothing. To me, that was fun. I got to stomp my shoes. First of all, I got to put on my dress shoes because you had to wear your dress shoes. See, this the way I remember it. I got to put on my church shoes in the middle of the night and basically tap dance across the floor if I had to use the bathroom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm older, that's what I said. I had to grow up and be like, oh yeah, that wasn't probably a good situation.
Right.
But as a child, I thought that was the greatest thing ever.
So then, are you saying? Oh, so what about the foster homes and moving around and
so
being?
That's where my trauma would have came in.
Okay, but
was leaving. That's what I said when we were separated, because I didn't understand it, and I was assuming it was temporary. I kept thinking okay, we're gonna go back home. Okay, we're gonna go back home. And then they started talking to me about this adoption thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, what does that mean? And then so he did all that. That's when I was like, yeah, that didn't make any sense to me, because I was like, we supposed to be going back home. I know exactly where my family is. I know where they at, and they do this brainwashing thing where they try to make you forget that you had a family.
Right. Right.
What? That's the one thing to this day I was like, they need to. I don't know if the system still do that or what they do about that. Remember we used to have the last visits.
Right. Right.
I didn't know what that was, because we all would visit. And then all of a sudden we have a big visit. It was a party. And then we didn't see that.
We're not supposed to see each other again. And then also forget that we ever knew each other.
Yeah. And now this is your family.
Right.
I don't know them like that. That's why I used to be like, that's what my dilemma was. Then not only that, the family that most of the foster homes I in were nice. They were pretty good. The home that I was adopted in, of all places, was great, but they were the hardest on trying to convince me, not they, the mother, because she had adopted all her daughters, but she adopted the other two when they were babies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was adopted after I knew my family, so it was a different situation. And they were really adamant on trying to not only get me to forget my family, but to dislike them. That's where I was told that I was light-skinned because I was scolded.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know that.
I believed that too for a couple of years. It was until I met somebody that was burned, and I realized that if I had been burned, I wouldn't look like this.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be this beautifully smooth-skinned. Anyway.
You are beautiful, and you look like mommy.
So I'm like,
her complexion, yeah. So then, are you still sticking with your initial statement? Let me ask the question again. Has that experience impacted how you connect with a black man?
Black man, any man, relationships and friendships. Now, a black man specifically, I wouldn't say them in particular.
And I'm talking about an intimate relationship, a committed relationship. You were married to a black man.
My relationship to him. Well, me being married, if that was a direct cause of me being in the system, if that's the case. I ran off and got married because the system wouldn't let it be no other type of way. I just wanted to date. I wasn't allowed to date, though. They had all the court ad libs and all that other stuff. And then
the guardian ad litem.
Yeah. And then so it was just all these different stuff going on to where that's why I ran away and got married. But I didn't want to run away and get married. So if anything, me first listening to him the way that I listened to him, let's talk about the things that happened. Because I came out of the situation with you all that to me was very good, I went into the next situations real trusted.
Mm-hmm.
So I was believing whatever people was telling me, you know, just because I
Right.
had no understanding of anything that you had an understanding to.
Well, let me add to that. Everything about the situation was not horrible. So, yes, we were neglected, but I too agree with you that, so yes, it was traumatic to witness what mommy had experienced. But then you couple that trauma with being transplanted into a stranger's home, and then that stranger's home was not a safe environment. So we might have been neglected at home, but we were safe. Never did our parents did not beat us. Our father did not attempt to molest us. We were never degraded, talked to like we didn't mean anything to people.
All I remember is that she wasn't there.
Right. And that's neglect. But once I got into the foster homes was where I experienced verbal and emotional and sometimes physical abuse.
Definitely.
Okay.
It was definitely, but it was also all of us at the house. And that was the whole thing too. So if anything, like when stuff did happen when we were all together, I just go talk to one of y'all, whatever. So in a new environment, I would say that though. That was the one thing that still to this day people approach me and say stuff about. And even Chris, that was the one thing, that was what we had got into it about before I ended up in the hospital, was the fact about me in my emotions, and the fact that they don't feel like I have any. Like I do have emotions. I've just learned to cry. I cry because they'd be like, "You don't never cry." Like I do cry. I just cry alone because that's the way I always did it. I don't know these people.
Right. And it's not safe to do it around them.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's like a defense mechanism because you're also the person that's attempting to abuse me. And if I cry in front of you,
I'm weak.
Right. It was a sign of weakness. And you can't let that happen. And you sure can't in the orphanage, which is to me like a child prison. So you're gonna lose much face if you go in there crying. And I think that when you get into adulthood and you do try to establish a healthy relationship with a partner, in order for it to thrive, you're gonna have to be able to let that experience go. That's my take, but I'd like to hear yours.
Well, yeah. You said what's
that the defense mechanisms that we created to protect ourselves once we were transplanted into hostile environments, we don't need them anymore. Yet it's difficult because you've lived so long with them to put them down, to say, wait a minute, this is my partner that I chose. I can trust this person. I can let that wall down. I don't need that defense mechanism anymore.
I don't know for me. I don't know. Because I'm a dreamer. But that's the thing that everybody keeps telling me. They're like, you really believe in love? Like, I always have really believed in love. But I will say this. I keep saying this to people recently. Then I didn't understand what I understand now. That this great relationship that everybody got, great relationship is not actually that common.
It's not.
But they not that common. We had to first start understanding that. And that was one of the things for me. But I'm a dreamer. I'm always like, no, I believed in love, you know.
Well, okay. So let me play advocate for love then, because I believe in it too. But I'm going to go ahead and defend this and say I believe in it because I've had it before.
Well, yeah.
Because again, we were neglected. Our parents loved us, showed us love, and I think we've got that recall, at least an emotionally safe environment. Let's put it that way. Did we have everything that we needed that society felt you should have?
No.
Yeah, were there rats, roaches? Yeah, but
as a kid,
we weren't beaten and abused.
And you couldn't tell me I was poor. I didn't know I was poor unless you told me.
Right.
So to me, nothing was wrong because when I wanted to eat, I ate.
There it is. And even though you didn't know, we were waiting to eat, you know? Like, as soon as the mailman come with them food stamps, I'm going to go get us some food.
But see, I remember that, and I remember you going down the street to go to the little store. I remember that over on May Street. That's what I remember.
May Street. On May Street, I used to go every day to get a pound of bologna. And you can't get me to eat bologna to this day because of all the bologna we ate growing up.
That's crazy because I don't eat bologna either.
I don't. And peanut
I
butter and jelly,
bologna,
I don't.
though, I just don't eat it. Not unless it's fried. Anyway, okay. I will say though, definitely my cutoff. I don't engage with, other people didn't like you or whatever, they was treating you funny or whatever. I'm just like, I felt like there wasn't nothing I could do about it anyway. So I would just basically try to avoid them, stay away from them and stuff like that.
Right.
And I think that, if anything, is probably what I still do because I'm not a confrontational person. But, okay, well, all the years I went counseling.
Do you think that benefited you or no?
Absolutely.
Me too.
Heck yeah.
I'm a fan of counseling. Like, you know what? First, I didn't like it. And I had to go every Monday at 2:00.
I didn't even get, as a kid, I didn't get what was going on. Yeah, it was like, once a week.
And not, I had individual counseling and group counseling. So I had counseling like 2-3 times a week. And I think if there was anything in that entire process, first of all, number one benefit was that occasional positive adult role model. I cannot thank God enough for letting me cross paths with Shirley Akoff. And I'm going to go ahead and say her name because my personal growth and self-esteem is 100% due to my relationship with her. And then I'd say the second benefit was the counseling. Okay, well, you know what? Definitely counseling played a great part. And I will say the very last foster home I was in, Elsie, was not like the other foster parent. She, if anything, was more like a counselor. She the reason why I know the family. And I remember she used to always say that you need to know where you came from. I believe that. And I didn't know what it meant until I found out where it came from. I was like, oh, now I get it. Oh my God. Because it's like, okay, I ain't really that weird. I'm just as weird as the rest of the family's weird. Right. So, and I have to say that about my mom as well, Shirley Akoff, that she 100% supported my desire to reconnect with my biological family. And I'm grateful that she allowed. Elsie went against the rules by doing it. She wasn't allowed to do it. I remember Elsie letting me take you on a school field trip to Kings Island. Remember that? Yep, I remember. Yeah. She would let me go out with all of y'all. No problem. And I remember that was the first foster home that was open like that. Because she just wasn't, she knew. I realized later in life that she just knew. Some people just make mistakes. Yeah. It's a different way you can deal with it. She was from Alabama. Okay. Well, So, I told you 10 minutes. I really, really appreciate your time. I'd like to pick up on this and talk about it again some more, a little more in depth. Would you be okay with that? Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay. Let me remember some stuff first. We can be unpacking this, forever. I remember. Do you remember our caseworker named Tony? No, I had female caseworkers. She was a lady. Her name was Toni. Oh, I'm so sorry. It was a black lady. She might have been my caseworker. Yes, she was your caseworker because I had Miss Ann. She was the first one. She was the one that came and took us from the house. And I don't know how the news found out, and we end up in the newspaper. Miss Gwendolyn, and then Miss Dot Simpson. Miss Dot Simpson was the best caseworker ever. Oh, you know what? So I should mention, so that would be another positive outcome or advantage that I had, that last caseworker. She actually listened to me. Oh, I never talked to none of them. My therapist, though, that was great. And eventually, I remember they told me, we don't need her to come. But I was going to say that all of them apparently said I was passive aggressive. And I think that's the non-confrontational. I don't want to fight. And then when I do fight, it just be like total chaos. Over the top. Yeah. I'm also passive aggressive. So that's what I learned from counseling. And that's what I try to keep in my mind now, which is actually the reason why I'm very verbal about stuff. And people are like, why you just be telling people the straight truth? I can't hold it in. If I hold it in, I'm going to kill somebody. I'm going to explode. So I might as well just tell you now, I really don't like you. Okay.
So, now, Tony, caseworker, ran into her as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I was grown up, she felt the need to let me know.
What she let you know?
That she wanted to kick our mama, man.
Oh, yeah.
She thought we was the cutest, sweetest, cutest little kid, and she just couldn't believe. And she said, I guess she had met my.
Yeah.
She was one that interacted with her. She was like, I used to just want to kick y'all mama ass. I just want you to know that. Oh, and for the record, the reason why I know what you're talking about, neglected but loved, because I see it all the time.
What do you mean? Explain.
Nowadays, these parents, they got homes and stuff like that. They see their children, but they don't see their children. You got some parents that go to work, they come home, they go in the room and lock their door, and they don't interact with their kids or nothing. They don't cook for them. They don't participate in taking them any place or anything like that. They don't really deal with their kids. They're not raising them. They just...
See, I don't know if I call that love, though. What I mean is our parents might not have been there, but when they were there, they were engaged with us. I loved when Daddy got home. We played, and it was nurturing. Daddy teaching me the alphabet, teaching me how to ride my bike, jump rope, stitching up my eye when I fell out the bunk bed.
Now, I don't even know why we leave Daddy's, because I don't remember. Grandma was there. Well, I remember Daddy going to work and come out. Like, I don't remember why we leave there.
Okay. So Grandma, she died, and then Daddy was loving, but he was not a provider.
Okay.
He was not well.
That's what I always said. That's why we left, because Grandma died and Daddy couldn't take care of us.
Right. The house was paid for. Daddy didn't pay the taxes on it. We also had the upstairs that he rented out. And again, that's, I think, with the drug use, misappropriating the funds because you have a drug habit.
Okay.
You might not remember it or might not think much of it. We ate peanut butter sandwiches for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a month.
But see, Greta,
I was a kid too.
That was terrific to me.
It was Thanksgiving time.
Thanksgiving?
So see, I was probably old enough to realize what Thanksgiving would have looked like with our grandmother as compared to when it was just Daddy. But the biggest problem was me babysitting you all, not making it to school, and the gas and electric not being paid. So I do remember being in here with no lights on. So. There was no lights. And you know what's funny? I'll tell you how that's impacted me now.
I remember the candles.
I still walk around in the dark. Like, I'm very comfortable in the dark.
One of the times that it impacted you more than it impacted us because you were the oldest, but you were taking care of us. So we was good. We was like this. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I come over your house now, I be like, Sissy got it. I'm going to go sit down.
And I
do the same thing. And you still act the same way.
No, well, I have.
Sissy got it.
I've been letting go of some things. I think for a while, something that I had to grow out of was feeling responsible for you all and like telling you what to do.
Being in control of everything.
Yes.
Yes. We've all noticed.
and so I would say that's something that does impact me in a relationship, turning over that control.
That is conversations I've had with your children.
Ooh, okay.
And this is where I've said things to other people that I know I've never said to you. And I explained, I know that you have went through, your trauma is way more difficult, is way more, deeper than ours is, because I know you were older. Like, now that I'm older, I realized that you were taking care of us the way you were taking care of us. You saw stuff. You had to hear stuff that we never heard and saw. So I knew that along. I knew that. I just always knew that coming back along. Like, I know you, like, to me, yeah, you was controlling, but I didn't care because that's just you. That's the always way you were. And in the end, you always took care. Now, if you was controlling and you kept messing up stuff, you kept Forrest Gumping stuff, then yeah. We had to take Sissy off of you can't let's just sit down.
I wish I had Forrest Gump some stuff. We'd be millionaires.
Yeah. But I mean, it always turned out right, so why not but in the same instance, that's one of the things that I think you don't realize, that's the reason why people deal with you the way they deal with you.
What do you mean?
Because they feel like it's gonna be all right. She'll be all right. She's strong. She got it. She'll deal with it. She good. They don't
Okay.
realize you crack sometimes.
Amen.
You need a hug sometimes.
Amen.
But you don't present yourself like that.
No, I
So
do.
people
I'd be
who
like,
meet
I need a hug. And that's new for me, and it feels so good because once we left our home and went to a foster home, like I remember when a hug turned dirty. Did he just put his hand up my dress? And then that meant no more hugs. See, now I can't hug anymore. I'm not safe. So yeah, to shut that off for years.
Oh, I'm like that to this day. I'm not a touchy-feely person at all.
I'm not a touchy-feely person. I want to, though. I do like to, and you know, now that I know better, but I had to learn how to do that again.
When I'm with a person,
I'm still
cool.
learning,
Touch
but
each other all day long. But like others, like you know, you got certain people that just touch you while they talk to you all the time.
That's me now.
I'm like, I can't. I'll be like, don't do that.
I do at least ask though, because of the Me Too movement. you got to be careful with it, but. Now I'm like, oh, I just love this so much. Get a hug, give me a hug, and take one with you. So let's end this one for right now. This is the end of episode 3.
Oh, definitely. To be continued.
Yeah. To be continued. Anything else?
Listeners, believe in love.
There it is. All right, sis. I want to thank you so much for joining me on Logic versus Emotion, Season 1, Episode 3.